Today we have Kale Epperson. He is the owner, team leader of Paranormal Investigations of Oklahoma, and he's going to share how his team all comes together during their investigations in Oklahoma. This is part 2 of our 3-part series. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. This is the most diverse paranormal team I have come across in my 50 years of following the paranormal.
Do you love a good story? If you do, check out Stories of Yore and Yours. I'm Sean Ennis, and each week on Stories of Yore and Yours, I narrate a classic short story, adding music and sound effects to bring those stories new life. The back catalog features stories by the likes of Edgar Allan Poe, Kurt Vonnegut, Rudyard Kipling, Mark Twain, Ray Bradbury, and many more. And in addition to classic short stories, I feature original stories by you, the listener. So if you do love a good story, give Stories of Yore, that's Y-O-R-E, and Yours, that's Y-O-U-R-S, a listen today. And visit the show at SYY Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to submit your own stories, requests for classic short stories, or just to say hi. That's Stories of Yore and Yours, available wherever you get your podcasts.
There are 24 hours in a day. 1/3 of the day is spent in bed. And why not be in the most comfortable you can get? Layla mattresses are more than just a foam mattress. They are copper infused and flippable. That's right, flippable. If you like a harder mattress, use one side. If you like a softer mattress, flip it over and voila. And the great thing about Layla is getting to try it out for 120 nights. That's right, 4 months. And if you decide that you don't like the mattress, Layla will pick up the cost of shipping it back and give you a full refund. Layla also offers bamboo sheets, weighted blankets, and memory foam pillows. And if you act soon, you can take advantage of their spring sale. $150 off a mattress and 2 free pillows. That's a $300 value. Plus, they are offering $30 to $50 off accessories. If you would like to take advantage of this great deal, simply follow the link in the show notes to let them know we sent you and to help support the show. Layla Sleep, thoughtfully designed for the most cool, clean, comfortable sleep imaginable.
Okay, I'm excited today to have Kale Epperson on the show. He is the founding member of Paranormal Investigations of Oklahoma.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I see on your bio you're a man of many titles.
Yeah, I'm constantly busy.
I find that interesting that you're an ordained minister. I think that's pretty cool because it's great having different people on the show with different angles, how you look at things.
Yeah, there's several different types of paranormal teams out there. They are atheist groups out there. But there's teams like what I like to consider is you got like your scientific teams. They are the ones that are trying to prove some way by science that ghosts or spirits or demons exist. And then you kind of got spiritualist groups that are more into the metaphysical side of the paranormal, and they try to explain it by their supernatural ways. But unfortunately, when they use a lot of the metaphysical, they don't debunk. They don't use a lot of scientific thinking. And a lot of times they get a lot of false negatives or false claims. My team, we're kind of a mixture of both. We combine the scientific also with the metaphysical. My team, we've been around since 2006. When I first started off in the field, I was just basically, it was me and 2 other guys. And I guess we just really got into it because we were all interested in the paranormal. And we just decided one day, hey, let's get a team together and start investigating.
Yeah, I see you have a quite diverse group on your team, between psychic, medium to Buddhism, and pretty diverse team.
Yeah, well, one way to look at it too, like a lot of people, they like to bring up religion when it comes up with the paranormal. I kind of look at religion as a way of trying to explain the supernatural. Myself, I'm more Christian based. Some of my team members are either Wiccans or pagans. I even got a Luciferian on my team. And we work together great because we know one way or another, if we're investigating a case and if it's dealt with some form of religious belief, we can at least try to figure out, is something of that religious belief causing the phenomena? For say, if we go into a home and the family's pagan belief, and all of a sudden they got this haunting that they never had before, we may discover that it may have been some form of ritual that they've done, that maybe they done incorrectly, and maybe it's something that we're able to fix, or have them, or help them, give them the ability to fix it on their own.
I had one of your team members on the show, Tambray Ross.
Yes.
She was very interesting on some of the stories and some of the investigations that you all been on.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought when she brought up about the team members, I'm like, that's really, really cool, that you have different ways of looking at the way when you go into a place that maybe with some spirits in there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of different eyes and ears on a project.
And it's great. I think, to my knowledge, we're the only team that has such a mass diversity of people with different beliefs on one single paranormal team. Rare occasions we ever butt heads on something during an investigation. It's something maybe we disagree about, but it's very rare. Most supernatural things, it really doesn't matter their religious belief on it. It's usually pretty similar, like saging or cleansing a home. It's so similar for like a Christian belief. I can go in and cleanse a home and use holy water, holy salt, some type of incense, say prayers over the home. And if you look maybe like at a pagan way of cleansing a home, they have some similar beliefs of they can use holy water or oils. When it boils down to it, like with using holy water, sage or whatever, it's not really the items that are cleansing the home, it's your faith and the positive energy behind it that's getting rid of it. So like using sage, holy water, it's just the physical what you can see of what your prayers are doing. The holy water, the stones or whatever you're using really doesn't have any power behind it. It's the faith that you generate that expels things from a home, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. My sister's a pastor, and she blesses homes and cleanses homes and buildings.
And with having a diverse group, it helps with our clients, because if I have a client that's Christian based, well, using pagan spells or maybe Buddhist way of things, it's not going to work for them because that's not their belief. And if they don't feel positive in what you're doing, it actually can cause a negative effect on the home or make the situation worse in the home. Like if you're dealing with a demonic case, the homeowner actually decides if they want that entity in the house or not. I can come in and do a cleansing or an exorcism of a home, but it still boils down to the individual living in the home to choose if they want that entity in their house or not. Now, it may be a fight to get whatever it is out of the house, but it boils also down to the faith of the person living there. It's their home, their temple. They choose what stays in there. So I want to make sure if I go into a home and they're a pagan belief, I at least have someone on my team that can help them out and understand with them about the rituals or what their beliefs is. And I've been on a lot of demonic cases dealing with several different religious beliefs, and it's pretty much all the same to get rid of anything demonic inside of a home. It all boils down to their faith to get rid of it.
Now, do you call that an exorcism or just getting rid of the spirit?
Well, an exorcism is basically the removal of something. So when you pray over your food, you're exercising the negativity out of the food and you're re-blessing it. People look at exorcism like, oh my gosh, this horrible thing. And it's just the removal of something. That's my interpretation of it.
When you got back to, you mentioned earlier, and I found this to be true with a lot of different paranormal investigators I have interviewed, is somewhere along the line, somewhere during that interview, it comes around back to Native American Indian spirits. And, I mean, they believe in removing evil spirits from every living thing. So whether it be a plant, animal, whatever. So they're removing that evil spirit from that object. I've also been finding out that a lot of the Indian burial grounds, you have a lot of activity. If you're building like a museum or a house or over a native or any burial site,
I learned with a lot of cases dealing with like the Native American culture. I've ran into Native American spirits, and some revert back to their cultural beliefs. So when we're dealing with a spirit, if a certain tribe believes that all ghosts are mean or hateful, well, maybe spirit may be mean and hateful, which is technically a rare occurrence. But with dealing with any type of spirit, it a lot depends on their background. And when I speak of spirit, I'm speaking of like a ghost. There's a place out here in El Reno that we investigate from time to time, and it's an old Native American school, and it's all reservation land. And we'll go out and we'll investigate, and we run into several different types of spirits, and they're all from different time eras. When we deal with the ones that are from like the 1800s, some of them are very upset. If I have people on my team that are Caucasian, they may have a rougher time with it because the spirits may be more hateful to them. And it's not personal. It's just because tragic things that happen to these spirits, they may not like Caucasian people just because how they were treated back in the past. And it all boils down to, with the spirits, is some realize that they're dead, some don't. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's whatever the spirit believes.
Right. You had mentioned the fact that depending on the homeowner, whether on the spirit leaving or not. I agree with that. When you talk about moving a spirit on or leading a spirit so it can move on.
I have a friend whose grandmother is attached to her, and everywhere she goes, grandma's always there with her. And she's even got a photograph where I want to say she's in a bar somewhere. And you see this photograph of her, and she's leaning on her hand, I think it was her left arm, and on her hand, her head was sitting in her hand. And in the background, you can see the apparition of her grandmother kind of mocking her. And it kind of freaked her out a little bit. But one thing that's amazing with my friend is she always had problems in her life. She couldn't keep a stable relationship. She was depressed all the time. She always felt like she was upset. And even if she started dating, always something went wrong. And she just couldn't understand why. And it all boiled down to grandma's spirit is around. And grandma always was overly protective of her granddaughter. And it basically boiled down to when she went out dating, grandma just didn't agree with the people she was dating. And all that energy builds up and something happens. And, truthfully, it was spirits, they're supposed to cross over. They're supposed to be on the other side. They're not supposed to linger around. Now, I kind of view ghosts and spirits as two separate entities. Some paranormal investigators agree with that, some don't. It's just up into interpretation. Ghosts are usually spirits that who've died. Some believe that they're alive, some don't even realize that they're dead. I learned with ghosts, they become forgetful because they have to draw on energy to manifest. And there's times I can ask questions of, what is your name? And get EVPs that say, I don't know, or I don't remember. And I always thought, well, that's strange. Why wouldn't they know their name? Or they may not know the date or their surroundings. But I ran into a situation with dealing with spirits. I believe spirits are individuals that died, crossed over, and came back to help the living. And these entities, they know their name, they know their surroundings, they know the date, they know their surroundings. So that's an easy way of comparing ghosts with spirits. Now, when you get into more like angels and demons, all of those are kind of in a separate category on their own.
Mm-hmm. And I know when I first started out, when the priest had told me, usually if you go into a home or some place where there's a spirit, you don't usually have a problem. It's when you call upon a spirit that's not there, or something, a ghost that's not there, or a demon's not there. In other words, if you use a Ouija board or seances, when you're calling upon something from the dead.
Yeah, summoning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one thing of the past Paracon I was guest speaking at. I spoke on some things about demonology, and I explained to people the dangers of summoning. And I view summoning as kidnapping a spirit. If you're in a home or some location that doesn't have paranormal activity, and you're using a Ouija board or ritual or calling out for spirit. And unfortunately, like when people use like Ouija boards, when you're calling out to the universe or whatever for something to join up with you, and you're hoping it's grandma, more likely it's not going to be grandma. It's going to be something negative. It's going to be something sinister. Or you could even open up portals or gateways to places you don't even want to open up in your home. We've had tons of cases where people have used Ouija boards and using black magic to summon something, and it always causes problems. And most of your major religions don't believe in summoning spirits.
Well, since I've been doing this about a year now, it's really interesting to get other people's perspectives on the way they look at spirits or ghosts, or separating the two. And I think most do separate the two. Whereas I did talk to an investigator out of New York where he believed you don't move a spirit on, because there is no on. Well, his whole team was either atheist or agnostic, so they didn't believe in moving a spirit on. They believed if you got rid of a spirit, you actually killed the spirit. So there is no heaven or hell. You just killed the spirit. So you get different opinions, different views. I personally believe either moves on its own or you help move it along,
Well, that's the fun part that I see with the paranormal, because it's the unknown. We really don't know what happens, and we won't know what happens until it's our time to cross over or go into the afterlife. I mean, what if the afterlife is actually here on Earth and the spirits do intermingle with us? We really don't know.
He respected my opinion, but who's to say that maybe I am killing the spirit, So, you don't know till you yourself see what's on the afterlife, move on.
And that's the joy of ghost hunting. One thing I try to teach my team is that there's no solid proof that ghosts exist. That it is, and I make paranormal teams mad every time when I say that. And they're like, how can you be a paranormal investigator and say that? I'm like, well, technically there's not. Because if we had physical proof that, boom, ghosts exist, we probably wouldn't be investigating ghosts anymore. I can get EVPs and say electronic voice phenomena exist, but it's not really proof that ghosts exist. We don't know if these voices are actually from spirits, are they from aliens, or is there a scientific reasoning behind the EVP? Maybe it's picking up long distance sounds, and it works the same way with photographs. Photographs are easily debunkable. I make people mad all the time. Like, oh my God, how can you say that? And I'm like, well, it's true. And technically, most of the cases, it seems like ghosts and spirits only really intermingle with people that are opened up to it. If you don't believe in ghosts and spirits, you're not looking for it. And if paranormal activity does happen in front of you, you blow it off as, maybe the wind did it. Your brain is the most powerful tool for a paranormal investigation. I mean, I got tons of expensive equipment, and all that equipment does is to test the environment. Now, can ghosts and spirits manipulate these devices? Well, yeah, I've seen it happen. But is it proof that ghosts exist? No, it just a K2 meter tests that there's a change in the electromagnetic field. Static meters just prove that there's a change in the static electricity in the area. Is it ghost causing it? We may or may not know. And we have to have checks and balances. So if I'm doing a reveal for you, I can say, well, the K2 meter went off with these responses of yes. Or say if the question was, is your name Bob? And the K2 flashed twice. And I can also say, well, I also got this EVP to go along with it with a voice saying, my name's Bob. You got checks and balances to say there's something that might be out there. And that's one thing paranormal teams need to be careful of is, when they're investigating a home, you don't want to scare people and you don't want to frighten people. I can't tell you how many cases I've had to deal with paranormal teams going in, scaring the crap out of them, and just leaving them hanging. And that just burns me. I had a case in Midwest City where a fly-by-night paranormal team came into this lady's house. And the reason why she called, because she thought her dead boyfriend was haunting the house. So these people come in, they have no equipment, and they claim to be psychic mediums. And all they did was they faked some evidence. They found a picture of her dead boyfriend, zoomed the picture, put it in negative mode, and said, you got a demon in your house. And then up and left like, okay, well, have a nice day. And scaring the crap out of this lady for no reason. We go in, investigate the home, and find nothing. No EVPs, nothing to say that the home was haunted. And when we investigate a case, if your house isn't haunted, we will tell you. We don't make stuff up. And I've made people mad before saying we did not find anything conclusive that would say that the home has something in it. We didn't get any EVPs, no responses, and I've made people mad before. But
I know when I did my documentary like 20-some years ago, I got a lot of calls, a lot of stories to go out and investigate homes. And I know back then, I would say probably 75% or more or higher, there was nothing there. Maybe even higher, maybe 80%. 9 times out of 10, there was nothing there. But I found that most of the activity that I investigated happened off camera, off recording devices or audio devices. It was after the fact, so that was more times than not. The best story was after the story,
And like for my team, on rare occasions, I'll have an atheist on the team. And what's great with having an atheist on your team is that atheist can keep your team grounded, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in stuff. If you're part of the investigation, there's a lot of things happening. And I've seen teams get excited, like, oh my gosh, we got all this activity going on. And it's nice for the atheist to say, well, have we checked this? That really, it keeps the team grounded. But people ask me, like, well, would you take an atheist on your team? Yeah. I love atheists on the team because they don't believe in spirits. They don't believe in ghosts. They don't believe in demons. And they're more scientific. They keep the team more grounded. Our last atheist, we went on a case down in Lawton. It was down in Medicine Park. We investigated this old motel. And we're doing the investigation, and one of the doors starts opening and closing on its own. And he's thinking like, oh, it's got to be a draft, or it's got to be this, got to be that. And after he couldn't debunk it, I could tell it was getting to him. And after a while, we started getting other responses. I think we even had a disembodied voice. I think it really got to him because now he's thinking in his head there might be something else out there. And after that, he kind of fizzled out of the team. He didn't want to be part of the team anymore. But, it kind of wakes people up. Like we were talking about before, it's the experience. Most people believe in ghosts because they had an experience with a ghost or a supernatural entity. I mean, that's where all your ghost stories come from, and all the cases we get. Because I've had people call and say, I don't believe in ghosts, but I got all this weird stuff going on in my house, and I don't know who else to call. I've seen it where people have contacted their churches, and the churches don't know what to do with them. Now, not all churches, but some. They may say, well, we'll pray for you, but they just kind of leave them hanging. Usually calling a paranormal team is kind of the last resort, and you're afraid to tell anyone about it. If you go tell a complete stranger that your house is haunted, you're afraid that you're going to get ridiculed. You're going to get harassed or people making fun of you, thinking you're crazy, and of course, as paranormal investigators, we hear all kinds of stories. And the joy for being a paranormal team owner is trying to siphon out, are these individuals legit, that they got a case going on, or are they just looking for attention? I've had a lot of that before. You go and investigate their house and there's nothing there. They're just wanting the attention, or they're wanting the entertainment of a paranormal team to come out to their house. So,
is there a lot of activity in your area, or do you travel outside of Oklahoma?
We do most of our investigations in Oklahoma. We're just now getting out and expanding out of state. We investigated the tuberculosis center in Arkansas. We've been to Texas several times. The Hill House Manor, we investigated that in Gainesville. We just came back from Ransbury, Texas, from a charity event with RIP Paranormal and the Tennessee Rape Chasers. We're kind of expanding out now. And of course, I think we've pretty much investigated almost everything in Oklahoma. So we're trying to expand ourselves and investigate other locations.
Yeah, I know since I started this podcast about a year ago, I think what's opened my eyes up a lot is a lot of activity. It's not just in your big cities and places you've heard about, it's everywhere. It's Springfield, Tennessee. It's, everywhere. I talk to people in New York, California, Texas. Astounding. A lot of stories are the same, but they're different places, different ideas too, different investigators and techniques. And anything you want to say to close out the show? And
they can reach me they can check us out on Facebook, and just look up Paranormal Investigations of Oklahoma. I do podcasting also. They can just look up Kale Epperson on YouTube.
All righty, I'll put the links down at the bottom of the podcast. And I want to thank you very much for being on the show today.
Just kind of one thing while wrapping up the show here is, if you're part of a paranormal team, I do stress paranormal unity. Go out and work with other teams. Just because they got different beliefs doesn't mean they're wrong. You can learn so much by working together and joining other teams and staying away from drama. I mean, my team enjoys working with other paranormal teams. We learn so much from each other. We may be doing something that a team hasn't done before, and so they can learn off of us. We have learned off of other teams. So paranormal unity, I really push that. I just want to make sure the audience knows that, if you're investigating, don't hesitate to reach out to another team and join forces and investigate together, because we're all trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, that's very, very well put, because I've seen that happen, fighting against each other.
And people ask me, they ask me all the time, how do I keep my team together, and how long, I've been around since 2006, and they're like, how do you do it? How do you keep your team together, and how do you get other people working with you? And I tell them I run it like a business. We stay professional. We do our thing. If there's any issues on the team, we try to iron it out. I have strict rules on my team. If a team member's trying to stir up drama on the team, I'll just get rid of them, because we don't have time for that. Because it just doesn't affect the team. It can affect our clients. It affects your credibility. I mean, technically, would you want to work with a team that has a lot of drama? I mean, no. You have to run it like a business. You have to run it professionally. That's just how it works. That's the best advice.
That's exactly what Tambray said when she was on the show a couple weeks ago, that the team is very professional.
Yeah, and you put the petty stuff aside, and just because a team's doing something differently than you doesn't mean that they're doing something wrong. Are there teams out there that I won't work with? Well, yeah. maybe they're unprofessional or they're doing something that I don't agree with. Doesn't mean I hate them. I still will help them if they need help. They just may have less time with me or my team, but we're very open to work with anybody. That's just how I am. That's how you learn. That's how anybody learns.
Well, Kale, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Glad you had me here on the show.
I want to thank Kale Epperson for being on the show today. Next week, we will have Jerry Beavers. She's also a paranormal investigator from the Paranormal Investigations of Oklahoma. Thank you very much. This is Al Cooley from Ghosts in the Valley, a proud member of the Indie Blast Podcast Network.
Indie Blast Podcast Network.